Joining us right now is former U.S. Comptroller General David Walker, joining us right now. Good to see you, David. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good to be back with you, Maria.
What are you expecting from tomorrow night?
Well, I hope that we get into some substance. We need to talk about what are we going to do to grow the economy, create jobs, put our finances in order, secure Social Security and Medicare, and obtain energy security and get our infrastructure back in shape. And obviously, the FBN is very good about dealing with economic issues, and we need to push these people for specifics about what do they propose to do and how are they going to get it done.
Yeah, and we got the panel here talking about just that. And Senator Brown, let me ask you, Scott Brown, about what the Republican primary voter feels is most important. We know tax reform is up there on the agenda.
Well, we've seen kind of all the personal stuff, all the kind of nitpicking with a lot of the other debates, but now we really have to get down to issues. Debt, deficit, taxes, spending, jobs, national security, energy, foreign policy, immigration. Those are the things that people want to hear about in New Hampshire and the rest of the country. And what are these candidates going to do about it?
You know, David Walker, one issue is that the candidates have very much similarities when it comes to ideologies. They all believe that smaller government is better, that taxes need to come down, debt and deficits an issue. So where do you think the differences are when you look at these candidates running for president?
Well, first, I think you have to recognize they're running for 3 jobs: Chief Executive Officer of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the United States military, and leader of the free world. And so you have to be able to say, to what extent are they qualified? How can they demonstrate that? And what type of proven track record do they have of solving serious problems on a bipartisan basis, which is what we need? I will tell you that while several people have talked about proposals, Jeb Bush has been a lot more specific with regard to not only taxes, which everybody talks about, but also the issue of Social Security, Medicare, health care reform. We need to start talking more specifics rather than generalities.
David, I've seen a lot of your writing on the debt crisis. Do you think any of these candidates have a plan to deal with the $20 trillion of debt and its continuing growth?
What really matters is debt as a percentage of the economy. It's more than tripled since 1980, and it's still growing. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing various candidates come out with pieces of a puzzle. As I said, Jeb Bush has come out with more pieces than anybody else so far. And we need to push these people. But ultimately, we have to put the pieces together to find out whether or not they will get debt to GDP down to a reasonable and sustainable level by 2030. Our goal should be to get that down.
What's the ratio that you would recommend?
60 to 65% by 2030, and make changes such that, given known demographic trends and rising health care costs, we can keep it at that level. We're not anywhere close to that right now. The latest budget deal had a lot of gimmicks in it and didn't really deal with the disease.
David, it's Dagan McDowell, but you talk about the need for entitlement reform and getting down our debt, but will that resonate with the American people until we are in a crisis situation? And I mean that interest rates get so high that we're struggling just to pay the interest on the existing debt.
Well, first, we're manipulating interest rates. They're artificially low right now, and it's only a matter of time before they're going to change and how high they're going to go. Look, I went to 27 states, including Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in 2012, did town hall meetings, business community leaders, editorial boards, and representative town hall meetings. The American people are willing to accept tough choices if they're part of a comprehensive plan that is principles and values based, designed to meet a goal, and that they deem it to be fair. By 68 to 92% margins, we gained agreement on budget reform, Social Security, Medicare, health care, taxes, defense, and other things. We need leadership. We need truth. We need somebody who can bring people together rather than divide people apart, and somebody who has a track record.
Good point, David. Scott Brown here. So when you're talking about Bush's tax plan and the priorities that he's put through, I agree with you. Also, Chris Christie's been very detailed as to what to do with Social Security and a lot of the entitlements. So aside from those 2 candidates, who do you think is third and fourth when it comes to making those proposals that actually make sense?
Well, I think if you look at governors, I mean, they're in a position that they've had to actually make tough choices, if you will. So I think Kasich is in a pretty good position. Obviously, Carly Fiorina has significant executive experience and some government experience. Governors have a competitive advantage. The problem with Governor Christie is he talks about a lot of good things, and I like Governor Christie as a person, but his track record in New Jersey is terrible. The financial condition and competitive posture has deteriorated dramatically during his tenure.
But, you make a good point in terms of bringing people together. Scott, you know how this works. I mean, you could have a great plan, but if you can't get the votes in the Senate, you can't push it over the finish line.
Well, and more importantly, if you have a great divider in President Obama as the figurehead who doesn't even speak to his own party, he doesn't come to the Senate or the House and actually talk and work through things, then this is what you're going to have, the division.
Yeah, which is why you really need to see that element in one of these candidates of being able to bring people together,
Correct.
being able to negotiate and reach over to the other side, David Walker.
I agree. We need nonpartisan solutions that can gain bipartisan support. We need a president who's a uniter rather than a divider. We need a president who's willing to spend time to build relationships on both sides of the aisle, who's willing to accept an 80% solution and fight for another day. A president who will use the power of the presidency, who's the only person who's elected by all the people, and the bully pulpit to go directly to the American people with the facts, the truth, the tough choices, and a way forward. It's not too late.
Anybody on that stage, David?
Who's that person?
Yeah,
Anybody on that stage?
I think if you look at the jobs involved, okay, the ones that are in the best position are Bush, Kasich, Fiorina. I think Rubio's going to be in the mix, but he doesn't have the executive experience or proven track record. And I think you have to watch out that if there's a hung convention, people may turn to Romney or Ryan.
You haven't mentioned Donald Trump, David.
Well, Donald Trump clearly has the leadership ability. There's no question. But he's got no government experience, and there's a question about his temperament. He's clearly got the leadership ability. He's very successful. But look, when you're CEO of a company that bears your name that's a private company, you can do whatever you want. You can fire people. You can do whatever you want. That is not President of the United States.
That's absolutely right. David Walker, thank you so much. Good to talk with you, sir. We'll see you soon. David Walker.